Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
The clip you just watched comes from Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Raiden, the main protagonist, is forced to run around naked before the gameplay is disrupted by a fourth wall break that pretty much signals the disintegration of the narrative. The clip encapsulates the two main postmodernist aspects of Metal Gear Solid 2, namely self-reference and the blending of high and low art. The former aspect is quite obvious. The colonel in the call tells the player that they're in a game, shattering the fourth wall and breaking the player's immersion. The latter is a bit more subdued. The low art in this case is the stealth and combat gameplay using naked Raiden, which is downright hilarious. The high art in this case is the game's attempt to convince the player to take it seriously, hinting that Raiden's lack of clothing might just symbolize his newfound emotional vulnerability to his wife, Rosemary, if you're willing to ignore the cheesy piano music.
Are you still there?
Was sleeping with me a part of the job?
I fell in love with you.
However, just seconds later, just when the player feels emotionally moved, the game hits you with this.
Been waiting long?
Yeah, you get it. Anyways, Metal Gear Solid 2 does this all the time. The game wears its postmodernist tendencies on its sleeves. Postmodernism is a term notoriously vague and difficult to define, but I'll try my very best to put the term in the context of this game. In his book, The Life and Times of Postmodernity, Keith Tester, who was a professor of cultural sociology at the University of Portsmouth, defined postmodernism as a reflection of the problems of modernism, focusing on issues of identity, nostalgia, technology, responsibility, and the other. Metal Gear Solid 2 addresses all 5 of these issues. The game breaks the fourth wall constantly, mocks players for wanting to play as longtime protagonist Solid Snake, sends out a meta warning about the dangers of technology, which I will get into later, and defies and exceeds all expectations and responsibilities of what a video game should be. Surprisingly, the moments in Metal Gear Solid 2 that I have mentioned aren't even its most outrageously postmodern ones. Regarding its self-referential nature, Metal Gear Solid 2's ending is where it really shines.
I know you didn't have much in terms of choices this time. But everything you felt, thought about during this mission is yours. And what you decide to do with them is your choice.
You mean start over?
Yeah, a clean slate, a new name, new memories. Choose your own legacy.
Although Solid Snake is speaking to Raiden in this scene, the documentary-esque footage that plays signals that the game is actually speaking to the player, offering them a surprisingly meaningful message about how to live their lives to the fullest and not to obsess over 21st century artifacts, like video games. Yeah, it gets deep. Anyways, in terms of the game's blending of high and low art, its characters are, well, truly spectacular. In this high-stakes, super stylized espionage action game that wants to warn the player how dangerous information control and censorship are in the 21st century, major characters include Vamp, vampire. Fat Man, a rotund man whose corpse you have to move after you kill him to disarm a bomb hidden underneath. And Fortune, whose superpower is luck and dies after getting shot on the right side of her heart, even though canonically her heart is on the left. You get the point. Metal Gear Solid 2's characters are completely ridiculous, which is even more interesting because of how deep the game wants to be. It's important to acknowledge that Metal Gear Solid 2 wouldn't be this way without its creator. The game was directed, produced, designed, and written by Hideo Kojima, who is widely known for his creation of the Metal Gear franchise and his idiosyncratic approach to video games. Kojima has been widely described as an auteur by a variety of publications. But what does the term auteur really mean? In a 1954 essay, French filmmaker François Truffaut coined the phrase la politique des auteurs, or the policy of the authors. The term was further popularized by American critic Andrew Sarris, who adapted the idea into what he called auteur theory. In his 1962 essay, Notes on the Auteur Theory, Sarris highlights directors whom he considers to be auteurs, citing Charlie Chaplin, Orson Welles, Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, and more. Although all of the directors Sarris mentions have distinctive approaches, whether it's aesthetically or thematically, they all share one singular element: unbounded control in their art. Hideo Kojima is an auteur of video games in the same sense, taking full creative control of the development of Metal Gear Solid 2. The end product is an extension of his personality, manifesting his unique style and thematic focus. In return, his usage of postmodernist techniques in Metal Gear Solid 2 defines him as an auteur. A modern auteur in cinema who mirrors Kojima's approach is Quentin Tarantino, whose films Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 use postmodern techniques to the fullest. The films are self-referential. The protagonist, the bride, speaks directly to the viewer.
I'm gonna kill Bill.
Yeah, she literally says the title of the film. I don't know if a fourth wall has ever been more broken. Anyways, the films also blend high and low art, playing on pastiches and cliches, while showcasing Tarantino's masterful direction and Robert Richardson's meticulous camera work. There are cheesy slow-mo sequences, ridiculous camera angles, and exaggerated sound effects taken from old martial arts films from Hong Kong. Just like Metal Gear Solid 2, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 have a central message that is surprisingly meaningful. Driven by revenge, the bride kills everyone who wronged her, but in the end, she realizes that true liberation lies in finding another way forward. Tarantino throws realism out the window and creates something that's unabashedly postmodern and surprisingly human, encapsulating him as an auteur, much like Hideo Kojima with Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid 2 was incredibly commercially successful, becoming one of the best-selling games of 2001. It also received critical acclaim, and in recent years has been considered to be one of the best video games of all time. However, taking into consideration its postmodern nature, the game defies all conventions of what a video game should be. Moreover, its ending message of living life to the fullest in the 21st century, however weirdly philosophical for an action game, is a meaningful one. Social media has only increased the amount of modern distractions, and Metal Gear Solid 2's message has never been more relevant. As a postmodern auteur, Hideo Kojima shattered all conventions and completely defied video game logic with Metal Gear Solid 2. Maybe that's why he was able to create a game that has a message that has never been more relevant today, exemplifying the artistic apex of what it means to be a video game auteur.